And thanks for joining us today on this webinar. So I have got with me today Pete Rawlinson, he's a CMO from Ppc Protect, and also Linus, who is the VP of Marketing from a company called Watergraph. Before we get kind of stuck into today, I want to go through a few housekeeping bits as usual. We are going to be answering questions at the end of this session, so please do send them through as they come to you, and the recording will be sent out as well. So please don't worry if you miss any of it at all. And in terms of time, we're going to try and keep this session to hopefully around 20 minutes, if I can keep a check on those two guys. So just a couple of things that we are going to cover. We're going to look at things like what's happening in the world of click fraud prevention today. How does clean out traffic correlate between conversion rates and user revenue reach? What can you do to monitor this sort of downstream commercial impact of click fraud protection? And that's across all channels as well. And then also, how can we use this intelligence to make better decisions moving forward as well? So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to pass you over to the experts. So we'll start off with Pete. And I think a good place to start, Pete, really is if you could tell us a little bit more about sort of like the state of click fraud protection and what's happening in your world right now.
Sure, Amar. Thank you. Thanks for the intro, and welcome, Linus, to this chat. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously Ppc Protect. We're in the click fraud prevention space, and what I thought I'd do before we jumped onto this webinar was just to collate some of the stats from our platform over the past 12 months and take a look at like what has that activity been like. Now we have about 1,000 clients globally of various different shapes and sizes, and as you can see from these numbers, right, 100 million plus fraudulent clicks. And when we say fraudulent, we mean clicks that kind of are invalid and we are known to be unambiguously kind of nefarious in nature, right? No possibility of conversion, resulting in over 94 million in savings there. Now these are relatively large numbers, but bear in mind this is across a relatively small client base for us as well. So if you extrapolate that across most businesses in the world, it's a huge. No wonder click fraud prevention is the second most. Click fraud, is the second most lucrative source of income for organized crime, second only to the drug trafficking trade. So it's a pretty significant problem, and what's kind of worrying is that 13% increase between 2020 and 2021 shows that it's on the increase. Why is that? Well, it's obviously it's easy to do and less risky than other forms of fraud. But I think also COVID has definitely had an impact here as well, in terms of e-commerce and more folks going from the high street to a virtual world. So we're in the business of stopping this from happening, and across our client base, we provide a decent level of protection. But I think what's really important here, Amar, for us to talk about today, and the reason why we want to talk with Watergraph on this is we see some huge commercial benefits in click fraud prevention over and above just the amount of reinvestment of saved ad spend from not paying for clicks that have no possibility of conversion. So that's what I'd like to kind of delve into a little bit today as we go into a bit more detail, but I'll leave it there for now and then talk later on about what it is that we do and how we think there's a significant commercial benefit to click fraud.
Yeah, Pete, I have to say that these figures are sad, but they're not surprising me at all. I've been in performance marketing, for over 10 years, and I myself have experienced previously various issues with Microsoft Ads Partner Network, where all of a sudden you are getting a surge in clicks with a 99% bounce rate, and you are spending all your monthly budget within a week, with no conversions to show for, or LinkedIn audience network as well, and display ads. Were really hard to, get profitable for me in the past as well. So it's a pretty sad state of affairs, but not totally surprising, I have to say.
Yeah. So I think that from a protection perspective, that's great. There are solutions out there, but I think going on to talk about there is huge opportunity in when you filter out invalid traffic to your paid acquisition channels. I think, Amar, there's some huge commercial opportunities there that we should have.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you say, you know, stuff we can delve into. But Linus, it'd be good if you could tell us a little bit about Watergraph as well, and how your platform's kind of able to measure performance of paid acquisition, and what you guys do in general as well, for the people that don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. So Watergraph is a marketing analytics platform that helps to easily build cross-channel reports. So we have north of 40 integrations, and the thing is that the modern marketer is using so many different advertising channels. I think the latest stats is that every single marketer is using on average 7 to 8 advertising or marketing channels. And you know, this issue is even more compounded for marketing agencies or freelancers, where they run, you know, they could be running 3 or 4 or 5 channels and have 5 clients. So all of a sudden there is just so many places to look for the performance data. And what Watergraph does, I guess, it makes it really easy for a non-technical even people to create great looking reports, like for example this, and aggregating a performance from different advertising platforms, you know, such as Google ads, Microsoft ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, and you can, you know, filter all sorts of different ranges and do comparisons. So for example, you could see, you know, this is a sample report, but you could look at a CPA trend over time, say your blended CPA across, you know, with all your advertising channels combined. And for example, you could try implementing, you know, a click protection software and look at the impact on your cost per acquisition. And, you know, theoretically then, you know, if you're filtering out this irrelevant traffic, you know, the cost per acquisition should go down. And, you know, same here, for example, you could look at your cost per acquisition for different channels compared to the previous time periods. And, you know, if you're seeing that cost per acquisition dropped in a certain channel, maybe it's a case to allocate more budget, you know, to a certain channel or a certain country. And I think what we have on the Watergraph website is lots of templates. So whatever free templates, basically, whatever you know, tool that you use, you can have a look for ideas how you know, these sorts of dashboards can be built, and you know, these KPIs displayed. And to illustrate the agency example, for example, let's say you're a marketing agency or a freelancer, and you know, you are you know, you have 5 channels and many clients. You could essentially utilize an overview feature like that and look at your return on ad spend across different you know, ad platforms like, you know, Google or Facebook, across all your clients, you know. So that's how we kind of see, I think, marketing analytics space evolving, is that a lot of the you know, agencies and freelancers and in-house marketers are now moving to these sort of you know, cross-channel analytics tools, and whatever tool that you're using, you can kind of have a quick look at different report templates, you know, that we have.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's like I say, it makes things a lot easier, doesn't it? And I suppose a lot of the time, you know, data analytics can be, let's not beat around the bush, it can be a little bit daunting, a little bit boring at times to look at all those numbers, but it looks like you guys have found a way to kind of make it a little bit more exciting to look at, I suppose, a little bit more easy to digest as well, which is great. Pete, I just wanted to come back to you. So can you kind of tell us a bit more about the results that businesses implementing click fraud prevention solutions, basically? You know, what kind of results have they been seeing, and what can they use to kind of measure the impact of removing this invalid or this bad traffic as well?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. You know, I think there's kind of an acknowledgement out there that, you know, when you implement something like click fraud prevention, the result of that really is that people are not clicking on ads that they shouldn't be clicking on, so you don't pay for those ads, so that you can reinvest that saved ad spend back into your campaigns, which is great, right? That makes sense. But actually, we see that's kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of the proposition from click fraud prevention. There's a couple of other points that, and it certainly provides massive value when you combine that with something like a Watergraph solution. So another point is, there are a lot of the ad platforms out there say that they do provide the ability to monitor fraudulent traffic and stop fraudulent traffic. Actually, in truth, they don't stop fraudulent traffic. They'll refund you if they detect fraudulent traffic, but that click still gets through your ad and then goes downstream, right? The cost of mitigating that false click further down the stream is exponentially more expensive further down the stream that goes, right? So there's a saving straight away in terms of just the overhead of downstream costs. But I think what's really even more important and more strategic is when you do remove this or you filter out this invalid traffic, you're providing cleaner and cleaner traffic. And when I say clean, I mean traffic that's closer and closer to your ideal customer profile, and you're feeding that back into your campaigns. A typical click fraud prevention platform like ours, for example, and others out there, we strongly believe that there is massive value in doing that. But our platforms are not designed to do that. They weren't built to do that, right? These are prevention platforms. So the reason why we wanted to have this conversation today is to kind of impress on folks the value of when you have this clean data, and also when you have the excluded data, which you typically don't have access to from the networks, right? This is first-party data that you have access to. With a tool like Watergraph, you can do so many things to understand what are my increases in conversion rates? What are my reduction in cost per acquisition? How can I increase my user reach and my revenue reach by having the insights into this click data that I've never really seen before? So I think that the top of the kind of iceberg proposition is, yeah, we can save money on ad spend. But I think the further down you go there, the more opportunistic value you get in understanding how you can benefit commercially from cleaning paid acquisition data. That makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's probably what a lot of people would want to know. It's great having cleaner traffic, like you say, and preventing all this invalid traffic from clicking on ads. But how do they measure that? In terms of things that they use every day, conversion, CPAs, revenue attribution, right, etc. Like you say, they need to kind of make make sense in their world as well. How can they report back and say, right, because we use this is what it's given us. Linus, I imagine obviously that's a massive part of what Watergraph provide them. They can give them these reports that can talk about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, Watergraph makes it easy to compare performance over time across many different channels, campaigns, ad creatives. And just to what you said, Peter, I think you'd be very lucky if ad platforms would refund you. From my experience, any issues I had with Microsoft or LinkedIn, I never actually got a refund, and the bot clicks were in the thousands. So I think, count yourself lucky if they do refund you. And, your point on the value of clean traffic resonated with me as well, especially, if you're running things like A/B tests on your website, it's important, to not have your traffic skewed, and, the lower your conversions rates are, the more traffic you need to run these A/B tests, and the harder it is to do, effectively to optimize everything. If your traffic is skewed with bots and all sorts of noise, so definitely.
Yeah, and I think that this whole conversation is almost compounded by what I love about what you guys do is it is holistically presented across all acquisition channels that you have, right? And our platform is the same, right? You can analyze on one particular platform and apply that analysis across, or if you see fraudulent activity on Facebook, you can apply that to LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, right? So there's a lot of behavioral analysis taking place that can convert this unknown cohort of traffic, which you typically don't see, into what is known and good, which can lead to great conversion rates, and you know, as you guys can report on, and known bad, which we can prevent getting into your clickstream in the first place. But there's this cohort of unknown in the middle that as you can start to convert that unknown into something good, what does that mean? And as far as a platform like ours will go, we will help in that conversion to, quote, something good, and almost kind of pass the baton on to like a water graph to say, well, when you say something good, that unknown traffic you typically wasted, now that you know what it is, we can actually tell you what opportunity you have from that traffic, from that activity, that click, through conversion rates and all of their kind of commercial KPIs that something like water graph can report on. So the fact that this happens across all platforms is huge, because then you have data that, as you showed in your shared screen there, Linus, that can then be used to recommend allocations of budget across other paid channels and stuff like that. So it is a compelling combination, I think a lot of organizations don't take advantage of today.
Absolutely. And I think the trend is, you know, with all of these ad platforms, that they are becoming less transparent. You know, like Google is making everything more automated. You know, search terms are being hidden. So I think it's harder and harder to track all these sort of discrepancies, you know, and even notice the bot traffic. So, you know, a solution like yours is interesting in a way. If you can eliminate it, you know, you can maybe sleep more soundly, that all of a sudden your budget will not get blown, you know, you know, by some dodgy ways, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Good stuff. Listen, guys, I'm going to have to stop you there. Promised, obviously, we try and keep it to that 20-minute mark. It's clear, obviously, you guys can talk about this for a lot longer, and I'm hoping that people can take away some really valuable info that you guys have provided today. I'm sure they can do. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Linus. For everyone listening, like I said, this is being recorded. We can send it out. We are going to do the Q&A now, and if you've got, I can see that we've also had, we've had quite a few questions come through. We'll try and get through as many as we can, and what we can't, we'll try and follow up on afterwards with you guys as well. But yeah, okay, so I am going to start with a question from Chris, and one is for you, Pete. So Chris wants to know, how do you do the cross-platform analysis and protection? It's not really anything that he's seen before.
Yeah, across all the platforms. Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've been working on for a while now. We kind of honed our expertise in Google. We've been providing click fraud prevention on the Google platform for a number of years now. But you know, based on all of the intelligence that we've accumulated over those years and those kind of, I don't know, billions of clicks, we've broadened that out now to all platforms. And we actually do have an FAQ document that goes into detail as to how we do that. But basically, it's all about excluded audiences. So we do use a kind of a JavaScript implementation using WebAssembly on your website. And basically, you know, the real key is understanding the behavioral analysis of fraudulent activity on a click, regardless of where that click's happening. When we detect there's been a fraudulent or an invalid click on an ad, regardless of the acquisition channel that occurs on, we'll include that into a global excluded audience that is then made available to all other platforms that you have. So basically, you know, any kind of fraudulent activity that we detect on one platform is added to an audience, an excluded audience, which is then applied to all the other platforms you're using. So that's that kind of, you know, analyze on one, protect on all implementation. But if you guys want to learn more information about that, we have a one pager we can just send to you and get you a bit more detail on how we do it.
Perfect. Cheers. I hope that answered your question, Chris. One for Linus from Jill. Jill wants to know, Linus, what KPIs would you recommend we use to measure the benefit of click fraud protection?
Sure. So you can look at, I would say, cost per acquisition as a main KPI for measuring the effectiveness of click fraud prevention. as you're getting less fraudulent clicks, you know, your overall cost per acquisition and the conversion rate should, well, the conversion rate should go up and your cost per acquisition should go down.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Daniel wants to know, guys, what additional insights into my ad analytics would I get with Ppc Protect? So over to you, this one, Pete.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it in the webinar, Amar, actually. So our platform is, and this is, I think it goes for click-fraud prevention platforms globally. It's not just about us, but we, based on this behavioral analysis of the click, we categorize that traffic into what's known good, what is, you know, unambiguously bad, which we block, and then we put kind of an intermediate level suspicious list or a watch list and make sure that we keep an eye on that and see what's what kind of additional behavioral traits that exhibits. But in order to do that, we have to analyze every click. So we store the information about the behavior of every click, including its location, including its, its IP address, if we know it, and then those behavioral traits that give literally a traffic score based on that click, every click, regardless of whether it converts or not. So I think the beauty here is that not only do we by default protect you from invalid clicks, but we surface all of that click information. You can actually download it, you can export it into a BI tool or something, and then you can start to analyze behind the scenes what else is going on in this typically excluded data, and then feed that back into your ad campaigns. You can do that manually. You can use something like a water graph to do that, but I think that's, as we talked about in the webinar, that's another level of kind of unknown value that you get from surfacing this excluded data that I think we're just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the potential for that.
Thanks, Pete. I think this one's going to be for you again, Pete. So Alex wants to know where you think click fraud protection is going in the future. So yeah, I'll try and keep you short on this one because I can imagine you can talk for hours on this.
I can talk about this further. Yeah, it's a pretty exciting space. You know what? I think what I find really exciting about it is, as we again said in the webinar, that the folks that are motivated to perform this fraudulent activity are well motivated from a commercial perspective, right? So they're getting increasingly sophisticated. So it is a matter of kind of playing leapfrog with the bad guys, which is kind of exciting in a way. So that's why we have a load of kind of cybersecurity experts on our team that are constantly analyzing the behavior of this fraudulent activity and keeping a step ahead of those guys that would be kind of nefarious. So I think continuing that evolution of sophistication of analyzing human behavior and non-human behavior is one part of where CFP is going. But again, coming back to my previous answer in terms of being able to access that information that's utilized in order to provide a level of protection provides a massive opportunity across the business, right? Whether it's detecting fraudulent bot activity on your customer support help desk tickets, or improving your ideal customer profile, maybe things like ad verification could be an option, because we have all of this information about things that you don't want interacting with you. And I think that's pretty unique in terms of where click fraud prevention could go. So, and the future's really bright, and the value we can bring to companies, especially when we combine ourselves with folks like Linus here, is pretty compelling. Perfect,
great stuff. Right, I'm going to have to, unfortunately, try and end it there, guys. I'm trying to keep within the time limits that we promised everyone. There are a few other questions that have come through, so we will follow up on these as well. And anyone kind of listening in or watching today, feel free to get in touch with Pete or Linus. We'll send some contact details through as well. Just before everyone goes, though, we have got just a quick poll for you. So on the bottom right-hand corner of your screens, you'll see the little poll icon. If you could just quickly click on that, and you'll see a question there. Would you be interested in finding out more about leveraging click fraud prevention and acquisition analysis? 2 answers: yes, tell me more, or no, not at the moment. So your feedback would be fantastic. So I'm just going to give you guys a few more seconds just to place your vote on that. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Right, great stuff. Thanks again, guys. Pete, thank you. Linus, thank you as well. We hope you all enjoyed that. Yes, like I say, please feel free to get in touch, and hopefully we will see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye all.